Hello my dear students, in this video we are going to study chapter number 6 called the basic concepts of OOP. Let us have introduction. Here the object oriented program focuses or emphasizes on data rather than procedure. The programs are built by combining both data member as well as the function member that operate on data. So let us take some of the programming languages that uses object oriented programming concept: C++, Java, C#, and so on. In C++ programming language, the problems are decomposed into the number of components called objects. So each object consisting of the data member as well as the function member that operate on data members. Here you can see in the diagram, so it is given data member as well as function member unite together form one object, and there are three different objects and you can see the arrow marks between them, so that indicates it's a communication between those objects. Next we'll study basic concepts of object oriented programming. Now let us study the characteristics of object oriented programming. So let us continue with the first characteristic: objects, classes, data abstraction, data encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, dynamic binding, message passing. Now let us continue with the first one, that is objects. What do you mean by object? Object is a place. It may be a person or it may be the table of content. So here object is composed of the data members as well as the function members that operate on data members. Here, for example, object is an identifiable entity with a unique name with some characteristics and behavior. Let us take an example like fruit names: apple, orange, mango, etc. All these are the objects that belongs to one class called fruit class. Let us take a general example of defining object. Here we can say student, and then you can see the data members such as name of the student, register number of the student, and then course of the student. Here we can write get data and display as member functions. Next, take one more example. Here we will take teacher as an object that consisting of data members and function members. Under data member we can write the name of the teacher, subject taught by the teacher, and the course opted by the teacher. Next, member functions are get data and display. Now let us continue with the second characteristics of object oriented program, that is classes. So what do you mean by class? Class is a blueprint of object oriented program. It is a fundamental building block of object oriented program. It is used to build a user defined data type. Class is a blueprint to create objects. Once the class is defined, any number of object of that particular type can be created, and only objects will occupy memory space. Let us see an example of how to declare and how to define a class. Here you can say the data members. Here we'll write data 1, data 2, and so on up to data n, and then we can write function members such as function 1, function 2, so on up to function n. Next characteristic is data abstraction. So it is a process in which the only essential feature of an object is included without any background details about it. Now let us continue with data encapsulation. So data encapsulation is process of insulating the data from the outside world, and the data can be accessed only by means of methods of that particular class, and data cannot be modified by the external non-member function of the class. Next we'll continue with inheritance. What do you mean by inheritance? So here C++ supports the reusability of the code. So already existing code can be utilized from the parent class to the child class. So it's a process of inheriting or acquiring the properties from one class to another class is called as inheritance. Existing class is known as the base class, and the class which inherits the properties from the other class is called as derived class. Next, we'll continue with polymorphism. What do you mean by polymorphism? It is an act of processing a same message in more than one form is called as the polymorphism. Here poly means many, morphism means forms. So polymorphism gives us the meaning of many forms. So same message can be processed in more than one form is called as polymorphism. There are two best examples for polymorphism. The first one is function overloading and the second one is operator overloading. So function overloading is nothing but what? It's a function having the same name with a different return type and different number of arguments present in it. Next, we'll continue with operator overloading. Operator overloading is nothing but using the same operator which acts differently at different instances of time is known as operator overloading. Let us consider an example. Here we will take plus as an operator. When it is used with the numericals, it will be acting as a arithmetic operator to perform addition of two numbers. Suppose we use same plus sign for two strings, so it acts as a concatenation of two strings. So here the same plus sign is acting differently at different instances of time. So hence it is known as operator overloading. Let us continue with dynamic binding. Binding is a process of combining one program to another. In the dynamic binding, the procedure is called whenever it is required at the time of its execution. Next, we'll continue with message passing. So message passing is nothing but it's a communication between more than one object, and whenever we want to call a particular procedure, we are going to create the object of that particular class and we are going to call that particular function by its name by passing the appropriate arguments. Now we'll continue with the advantages of object-oriented program over the earlier programming languages. Let us continue with the first advantage, that is the programs are modularized based on the principles of objects and classes. C++ reduces code duplication and reusability of the code. Data is encapsulated along with the functions and hence it cannot be accessed by the outside program and it is completely insulated within the class. Hence it provides the data security. Easier to develop complex softwares because the complexity is minimized through inheritance. OOP code is easy and it reduces the software development time. OOP can communicate through message passing, hence it creates the easy interface from the outside world. Now let us continue with limitations of OOPs. So the first limitation is OOP software is not having set standards. And the second one is the adaptability of the flow diagram and the object-oriented programming using classes and object is a complex process. And the third one is to convert the real problem into object-oriented model is difficult. Fourth one is the classes are overly generalized. Now let us continue with applications of object-oriented programming. There are 7 applications. The first one is computer graphic application, and the second one is CAD CAM software, and the third one is object-oriented database, user interface design such as Windows, real-time systems, and the sixth one is simulation and modeling, and the seventh one is artificial intelligence and expert systems. That's all in this video. Thank you very much for watching this video. We will see you in the next video.